Can you tell I'm in denial?
You can't stay at the top forever.
I was also very surprised when I looked at my phone and saw Joe Girardi dismissed.
Well, I think mine were with common sense.
I think now belongs in the all-time greats top 10.
Boston, I really think only got to this point because of a guy named Chris Middleton being out for the Bucks.
That power play just was unbearable. It was humming.
Man, am I happy. I knew that this was going to happen. I knew he was going to come back.
When I think of New York Yankees now, it's Judge. Probably people in the past when Jeter was coming up.
I would be shocked. A little bit hurt.
Hey, this is Greg Tepper of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, TexasFootball.com, and Valley Sports Southwest. You are listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NHL Opinions of the Week. As Austin, there have sadly been a couple of recent injuries to some major players. The first one being Austin Matthews, and then the second being Leon Draisaitl. I did not see Draisaitl's injury. However, the one with the most controversy is the Austin Matthews one, given just the injury and how it happened.
Yeah, there's been a lot of season-ending injuries recently because Sagan's out for the year, right?
Yeah. He's been out. Yeah, I think. Yeah, he's out for the year.
I know Petrangelo is also out. Matthews is out. Yeah, there's been a lot of season-ending injuries, and Kevin Fiala, obviously, he's out for the year, but that obviously happened in the Olympics. Do you think that the NHL, I'm not saying fans, but the NHL will look at the Olympics as kind of a disappointment because of all these injuries that have now kind of taken place in its wake, or do you think that the rest of the league will pressure them to keep it?
I think the rest of the league will pressure it to keep it, because I think Austin Matthews, to me, his injury was because of a dirty hit. Because with the video, it looks like the other player sticks his leg out, and that causes the injury. And then it seems like Draisaitl's was because of a hit, but that just seems like it was a hockey hit. As I try to watch the video, so I think the NHL. I know we talked about just kind of how they may not want the Olympics. I don't see the NHL using this to try to stop the Olympics again.
I think they will. I don't know if they will be successful doing it, but the league has never wanted them to do the Olympics. It kind of reminds me of the WBC with baseball, but I think the only way they could do it is if they do it like the WBC with baseball. And the reason I bring that up is because there's an insurance company that pays for the injuries that happen during the tournament. If a player is out for the season after an injury like that, the insurance company pays their salary, not the team. And I think they could potentially adopt something like that to give the owners a little bit more security. But then if a player gets injured right afterwards, is the argument going to be made that because those games were played and the intensity of those games were played at, does that affect it? I don't really know, but owners are going to try to get their way no matter what. I don't think they're necessarily going to change their mind about that, even if the fans really like it. They're not making money from it, so why have it? And that's really their thought. But I do think it's disappointing to have the injuries that have happened. Obviously, I don't think the Leafs were going to make the playoffs anyways, but Austin Matthews getting hurt is not good for the league. And then Draisaitl, it seems like the Oilers are done. I mean, I don't know what happens with McDavid. I think it's a serious question for the future of the Oilers. But without those two, in emphasizing both of them being healthy, they don't have a chance. And that's a disappointing revelation now for Oilers fans, because after back-to-back Stanley Cup Finals appearances, it looks like it's kind of all falling apart.
Yeah, and this comes Draisaitl, of course, is huge bad news for the Oilers because of just how deadly him and McDavid are together, especially on the power play. And Draisaitl did a lot in those playoff runs. Of course, McDavid did too, but Draisaitl was a huge part of it. And talking about the Oilers, they made a trade for a goalie, Tristan Jarry, this season because there was that momentum that they wanted to capitalize, and goaltender was an issue for them. And with this injury, I think it just causes more harm because you made a lot of moves to get to fix a problem or try to fix a problem that the Oilers have had. So, and that just didn't work because now one of your best players is injured.
Yeah, I mean that's an understatement. It's very disappointing, and I do think that the way that the league will, it's just hard for me to imagine the Oilers not making a very big change, kind of in lieu of what happened also with the Leafs. Obviously, they've had a lot more success than the Leafs. They've been to back-to-back Stanley Cup finals, but without a cup and without a ring, it makes it difficult to see them trying to stick around and compete at the same kind of way that they've tried the past couple of years. And I don't know how happy McDavid is to stay in Edmonton. I think McDavid would be a lot more happy in one of the bigger Canadian teams, which would be Montreal or Toronto. But I don't necessarily know if he's going to get a move there. And if he doesn't, then he like another one of the big teams that have a better situation. Now, I don't necessarily know if that's going to happen. Do you think that McDavid will be moved kind of like a Wayne Gretzky type movement in the offseason?
I would say not yet. I don't see that happening.
I'm not saying they would get rid of him, but that he would ask.
I don't think so. I think he signed a 2-year extension. I think that's going to be his term. Even though that this year is going to be bad, I think he's really going to go into next year still believing, but maybe in the middle of that season he does ask for a trade. But I don't see it happening this offseason.
Okay.
And then going with the Oilers, to me, there's still some hope next year because Draisaitl should be back as well as Connor McDavid, and maybe they make some more moves. But Austin Matthews was a big part of that Maple Leafs team that has underachieved. So, and they lost Mitch Marner in this offseason. So I am curious what the Leafs do now heading into next season, where it could be a little bit more of a rebuild. Because Matthews is 28. It was, I think they said it was an MCL sprain. But I do think it's harsher for the Leafs because they were already on a downward trajectory.
I argue it's harsh for both of them. I mean, Toronto wasn't going to make the playoffs anyway, so him missing the last 15 games or so of the year, 13 games. If I look at they played 69. I guess it would be last 15 because I think he's missed the last couple games too. But him missing the last whatever games, I don't think hurts him as much, and he can just get an earlier recovery time. And I know it sucks to have the injury that he had, but he'll be back by next season. I think it's harsher for Edmonton because you want to feel like you've accomplished something by making it to back-to-back cups, but fans only see success in the amount of rings you have. So I think that Toronto being the second worst in their division, the third worst in the East, I think that they can take some and be like, hey, we're hurt. It's fine. We'll figure it out. And yes, it's very disappointing for Toronto to miss the playoffs. Any year they do that, they're a big market, the biggest market in Canada, and one of the teams that expects success every season and has yet to really win much in the playoffs. But without Austin Matthews, I think they can kind of focus on getting their young guys that they have on the roster right now to have a bigger role for these last 13 games and kind of learn because they weren't going to make the playoffs anyway. So I think that's a little bit of solace they can get out of it. It's like, hey, we're getting something out of this. With the Oilers, right, you're going to play those extra games. They're going to make the playoffs. You just know that your ceiling is capped and it's going to be much harder to win come playoff time without Draisaitl.
Yeah, you make a good argument with the view of it, because Draisaitl does hurt the immediate part of it, and it does place a lot of importance on next year. I do think Leafs, it's going to be a bad year. I am curious what they do heading into next season, because yes, Matthews should be better, but what other moves do they make outside of that? How do they build around him? With Edmonton, the goal is simple. It's getting to the Stanley Cup final. Toronto, I think there's a lot. Yes, they want to compete in the playoffs, but there's a lot more they have to do with the loss of Mitch Marner and then building other parts of their team.
I still think there's a lot to do for Edmonton, and I think that's been proven by their lack of success in the Stanley Cup final the last 2 years. I know they've gotten to a Game 7, but they were down 3-0 in that series, and I definitely think Oilers fans think there are issues with the roster other than just Draisaitl being hurt.
Yeah, I do think goalie is still an issue for them, but we'll have to see. I think there's a lot left for them. So, or there's a lot, they've already proved a lot, so there's just like a few small tweaks that I could see them going all in this offseason to really fix those issues.
Yeah. I don't know. For both of these teams, they kind of feel similar to me. And that's why the injuries, I think, feel in somewhat same places. These are both teams that expect a lot of success the past couple of years and have yet to win a cup. They're the most likely Canadian teams to break the curse for Canada. I know that Montreal in 2021 made it, but we'll go since then. I mean, the most likely teams have been them. And if we look at the teams that are going to make the playoffs this year, most likely Montreal will be back in that mix. But Ottawa doesn't look like they're going to make it. Toronto doesn't look like they're going to make it. Then we move over to the West. Calgary, Vancouver both don't look like they're going to make it. Winnipeg could make it. They're kind of close. And they've been playing well as of late. But these are the two Canadian teams that I think of when I think of the ones that are the closest to winning a cup. And now it looks like it's going to be another year without a Canadian winner. And I think that that's getting to not just the Canadian fans, but the fan bases of these teams.
You make a good point because these were the two likely teams to do it. The Canucks appeared for a little bit, but then they've kind of slowed down and reverted back to what they were before when they were competing highly the past few years. So it does stink, and we'll have to see what happens. But it's sad to see injuries, of course, especially to two high caliber players in the NHL that play for the two Canadian teams. I'll let you finish this one out.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening. Please let us know what you guys think the Oilers or Toronto will do in the wake of these injuries, and please catch us in our next video.